G'day guys, one of the things I like to do on this channel is talk about the different potential opportunities that Games Workshop could capitalize on with this amazing game that we all know and love. There's plenty of different ways that GW can do things better, and I think the only way that we can encourage them to do so is to have the conversation. Make it part of our community effort to talk about the areas in which GW can improve and the opportunities that they could be capitalizing on. So with that being said, in today's episode, we're going to talk about an idea for GW making an all-encompassing app that includes everything from submitting lists, writing lists, viewing rules, attending tournaments, submitting scores during tournaments, and then we're going to talk about from the business perspective of Games Workshop why this would be such a massive win for them if they invest the money and do it right. So with that being said, we're going to jump straight into the episode.
Welcome to the Black God.
G'day guys, today I want to pitch an idea and hopefully somewhere out there somebody at GW hears this idea and gets excited and makes it happen. And I want to share that with you guys so that you guys can comment your feedback below so that we can get a conversation going that GW can be involved in and hopefully we can see some positive change. Now, the conversation is about a really exciting business opportunity that I think Games Workshop is completely overlooking, and it's something that I really think they are missing an amazing ability here to make a lot of money and also improve their product and improve their brand. And basically what this idea is to just take a bunch of existing things, purchase them, and combine them. And that's essentially all they need to do. So it's not hard. This is not a big, revolutionary idea. Basically what I'm suggesting they do is buy Battlescribe and then basically keep it exactly the same functionality wise, just give it a bit of a makeover, right? Then buy BCP, keep it exactly the same but a little bit of a makeover, and then also buy Wahapedia and give that a bit of a makeover, right? And they could then essentially roll these three things together into one app that would allow you to view the rules, write your list, submit your list to a tournament, and then attend the tournament, submit your results from your games, and then view your overall results and standings within the ranking system. So imagine a world where all of that was one app and it was a GW sponsored app. That would be fucking amazing. And the reason that this is a huge business opportunity for GW is because if they had that app, they could probably charge $10 a month, and I reckon they would get millions of people subscribing. So there's literally tens of millions of dollars to be made every year from an app like this. Now, an argument could be made, it's going to hurt codex sales. I don't believe that. I believe that most people that buy codexes buy them because they want to buy the codex. They don't buy it because they want the rules. The rules are already available online for free via PDFs that people have. So I don't think making the rules available online is actually going to hurt codex sales at all. It might maybe slightly impact them, but nowhere near, tens of millions of dollars worth of codex damage. Like they're still going to sell codexes. But what it would do, and this is how it is a business opportunity, is not only do they get the subscription, but they get something way, way better, and that is data. Data is the new gold. Like if companies can harvest data, that's massively, powerful to them. And what this would allow GW to do is it would allow them to see what units people are writing in their lists. So whenever you write, imagine if every time you wrote a list in your Battlescribe, imagine if that gave GW that data, right? So first of all, that's amazing. It would then show them what lists you submit to tournaments. So they would have two sets of data here. They would know all of the lists that you write and then which one you settle on for a tournament. So that's interesting. There's a lot of information to be gained from that. Then they would know when in your list, what warlord traits do you take? What relics do you take? What upgrades do you put on your units? All of that sort of stuff. They would have all of that data, which is amazing. Then they would also know in your games what secondary objectives do you take, because they could make that part of BCP. You know, you select your secondaries, like the ITC Battles app. Imagine if they rolled that in as well. So it's like, cool, now you've got all of the data for all of the different, you know, things all rolled into one place, and GW can now see all of that information. They would then know, you know, which games you won and by how much and where you placed. They would know which secondaries you maxed out and which ones you struggled to score victory points on. They would know everything. They would know how well you did in primary and how well you did in secondaries. And then from that, they would then be able to balance the game with absolute precision. They would be able to go, yep, cool, these factions are fucked, these factions are overpowered, and here is the specific reason why. Whereas currently you see these big sweeping changes, or, you know, really poorly targeted nerfs. So, you know, like if you look at what they did with the Chaos Space Marine Terminators, where they were like, oh, let's just make them more expensive. Well, they could have looked at it and gone, wow, every single list that does well with those Terminators has Illusory Supplication and Master of Possessions for Summoning and the Black Rune. The lists out there that have the Terminators that don't have those 3 relics do really badly. So that would show them it's not the Terminator's points cost that needs to change, it's those specific combos. And that would really highlight all of that. And then, but what it would also do, because like, I mean, they can get that by just analyzing the top lists, right? They could just look at a tournament, analyze the top lists, boom, there's your things that are broken. But what this really, really highlights that nothing else really does is what units are not taken. You know, what units are being completely overlooked? What warlord traits and relics are being completely overlooked? Because they would have a master set of all of the available options. So they could then look at it and go, okay, of all of the available options, absolutely nobody is taking fucking Mauler Fiends, you know? And they could go, nobody's even writing them into their lists that they're considering. You know, nobody's even entertaining the idea of the Mauler Fiend, you know? So that would tell them that that unit needs a buff. Whereas currently what they're sort of doing is just looking at the top of the pack and nerfing it, and then going kind of off a feel, I guess, because they don't have the data. So how could they possibly know, other than based off like community feedback? They wouldn't know what's popular and what's not. They wouldn't know, you know, outside of like, obviously they've got their sales data, but sales data doesn't really get you there, because the problem with sales data is it includes all your casual gamers. It includes all your hobbyists and all your collectors. Like, for example, I have 3 Mauler Fiends. I bought 3 Mauler Fiends because I wanted to have those models in my collection, but I've fucking never used them because they've been pretty much garbage since day dot. Whereas if they had the data from the games, they'd be able to see what's not being selected. And then what they could do is they could buff them, and this is where the data becomes super valuable, because then they know, okay, cool, we're buffing them, which now means that Mauler Fiends are competitively viable, which means people will buy them and it'll increase sales. So it has a direct, access to data has a direct correlation with sales, which is, you know, obviously a very powerful advantage for GW. But further to that is, if they do, and this is a bit more broad scope, but if they did this, it's going to make competitive 40k next level, because it's going to be very balanced, very interesting. You're going to see lots of different lists because they're balancing it, right? Which is going to make it more interesting, more engaging, and more accessible. Because it means that you know, guy with his just random collection of things, if it's perfectly balanced, which, I mean, it'll never be perfectly balanced, but if it's really, really balanced, you could bring just any old collection of stuff from home and you should be able to compete. You know, you should be able to, it should be viable. Whereas at the moment, certain lists out there, if you've got a collection and you've got like a Defiler, a Helldrake, you know, a Rhino with like Rubric Marines, like you just got all this just stuff, your list is not going to work. You know, you require the optimized units in order to compete. Whereas if GW balanced everything, you wouldn't, and therefore if you had that collection, you could put it together into a list and attend a tournament and have fun. instead of just attending a tournament and getting dumpstered by all these tournament optimized armies. So that would then increase tournament attendance, it would increase engagement, which would be fantastic for GW's bottom line, because then they're going to get more sales from people building these tournament armies and playing around with different ideas, and therefore expanding their collections. And then that would also go a long way towards building GW as a brand, because then they would become renowned as the company that has that amazing game Warhammer, that game that everybody loves, that game that is amazingly balanced. So they would do huge things for their brand, which would also tie in with this new push they're doing to do that Amazon series with Henry Cavill. I think it was on Amazon. They're obviously trying to build their intellectual property, but that you want to time that with having a really good game as well. So when people see the movie, they're like, what the fuck was that? That movie was sick. And then somebody's like, oh, it was based around this fucking tabletop miniatures game. And they're like, what is that? And then they check it out and they're like, wow, you can get little models that are like the guys from the movie, or from the TV show. That's sick. And then you're like, what? And you can play games with them, and it's kind of like chess, but on steroids? Fuck, that's sick. And then they'll play the game, and then they'll be like, oh, it's garbage. The game is garbage. Whereas if GW had an app that allowed them to gather data, which allowed them to refine the game and make the game not garbage, make the game balanced so that people who do come into the game can just pick it up and play, that would be amazing. And then people would have tons of fun when they do enter the game. It would also mean that attending tournaments would be way less daunting for people. Like, I get lots of people reach out to me and shoot me PMs and be like, oh, I'm thinking of attending a tournament, but I have no fucking idea how. And I totally empathize with that position. I remember when I first got into tournaments, I was like, what do you mean I have to download BCP? What do you mean I have to download Battlescribe? What do you mean I have to, it's all just, what is all this shit? Where do I find the events? Where's this information? What's a player pack? I don't fucking know. It was so much. Whereas if you had one app where you could just put in your location and it would bring up a calendar of events near you, and then you click on the event in the calendar and it pops up with a player pack and all the information you need and the ability to sign up, and then the ability to submit your list by just importing it directly from the app into the fucking tournament. That would make attending tournaments so appealing to newer people, and that's how you grow. You don't want to make it so that it's better for the existing people, because you've already got them. They're already your loyal customers. Yes, there is an element of attrition, I guess, where players fall out. They go, they're sick of this, blah 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 blah, so they drop out, and you might retain some of them if you do continue to improve and balance the game. But the main thing is all these new people that you'd get, all these new people that have never attended a tournament in their life. If that app becomes available and they download it and they're just playing around on this app and they realize, wow, there's actually a tournament around the corner next weekend, it's just down the, oh, fuck it, I'll sign up. You'd get all these people signing up that it would, otherwise not have. They attend it, they have an amazing time, and then they go, cool, now because you've balanced the game, they attend the event and have an amazing time. Whereas if they attend an event today, they may not, because they may be bringing a really weak list, and therefore they may just get the shit smashed out of them for 5 games and just feel real bad. Whereas if you balance the game first, then, it ticks all the boxes. So it perplexes me that GW haven't done this already. I don't get it. I think part of it is that they are a model making, this is the argument they would probably give, is that they're a model making company. That's their job. They make pretty models. The game is just something they've tacked on so that you can play with your pretty models. I disagree with that, though. I think at this stage they're actually a games developer, almost more so. It's almost like they have several businesses operating under the one banner. They've got the model making side, but then they also have the games development side, and then they also have the intellectual property and the the narrative sort of side. And all I'm suggesting is that they don't have to do anything here, right? They could outsource all of this work, but they basically need to hire an app development team to make this idea work. That's all they need to do. And then they could just go, cool, here's a couple of $1 million, however many millions of dollars, build this fucking app and make it the shit. Make it the absolute bee's knees. Make it something that people are going to froth. And then people will fucking pay $10 a month for that shit. Everybody will. Because then they can have all the rules. Because one of the things is, often people will buy their own codex for their own faction, but they're not going to buy everybody else's, right? But they would love to have access to everybody else's, because then they can study their enemy. And you never know, if you do that, they might end up reading they might be a fucking Chaos player and they might read the Drukhari Codex that they otherwise wouldn't have read because they don't own it. But if you give them access to it via this app, they read it and then they go, actually, Drukhari is sick. I'm going to start a second army. And now that Chaos player is running around buying Drukhari models that they otherwise wouldn't have bought. So giving people access to things is, especially things that they can get access to for free anyway if they want to. So just giving it to them is fantastic for a business. Especially when that product, a codex, if you look at a codex as a product, I think that's almost the wrong way of looking at a codex. I view a codex more as a catalog, when you get catalogs in the mail, this probably doesn't happen so much these days, but you used to get catalogs in the mail with pictures of all of the things that you can buy, and people would fucking go, oh yeah, sick, I'm gonna go buy the things. That's what a fucking codex is. It's just a fucking list of things that you can buy. So if they want to sell more of them, then put out more fucking catalogs and actually deliver the catalogs to people. Don't tell the people that they need to come to you and purchase the catalog. So I just really feel that GW is missing a huge opportunity here to earn subscription revenue and also generate massive amounts of critical data that they could then use to make the game as close to perfect as it can be made, and then naturally benefit from that development, benefit from the fact that the game is now amazing. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What sort of ideas do you guys have for this sort of merging of apps? Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think that it's better for them to keep all of these apps separated? Do you prefer having Battlescribe and Wahapedia and ITC Battles and BCP? Do you prefer all of those independent apps being independent, or do you think we would be better with a single app that has all of those functions built into it that can communicate with each other internal to the app? Obviously, GW would likely fuck it up like they fucked up their current, Warhammer app, but that's because they've done too much of it in-house. I think what they need to do is just tell this idea to find a fucking wargamer, find somebody who's passionate about 40k that also works in app development. There's no way that person doesn't exist. There's somebody out there. There's probably fucking a whole team of people out there that are passionate about Warhammer 40k and passionate about apps development. I know we've got people here in Australia that have developed essentially versions of an app like this, real simple versions, because they've developed it in their own time, on their own dime. But if you gave that person fucking millions of dollars and said, go assemble a team of people and you're fucking project lead, and we want you to develop this fucking amazing app that's going to do all of this stuff, and then we want you to send us reports, with information that's been pulled from that app, then fucking it'd be perfect. Don't get some random people in some random country to fucking just build an app based on, napkin designs that you've drawn. Get somebody who's passionate about the game to do it, and they'll do it good. They'll do it well because they know what it needs. They know what the experience of the user is like, and they'll make sure that it ticks all the boxes. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going about this. And I just wanted a quick shout out to thank my Patreons. You guys are fantastic, and you allow me to continue doing this, which is a passion of mine, and I couldn't do it without you. So I just want to say thank you to my Patreons. If you'd like to sign up, you can sign up for as low as $4 a month. We have a Patreon exclusive Discord where we get a lot of work done. We have coaching available. We have, all kinds of different stuff in there. We have t-shirts, objective markers, custom dice. All of these things are available. There'll be links in the description of this video for where you can find yours, if that's something that you're interested in. And it's a great way to show your support for the channel whilst, picking up some sweet swag for yourself. And yeah, with that being said, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.
Welcome to the Black God.